Hey guys, Ryan here with Mantis Defense. Today we're going to take a look at the P365 XMacro and all the variations of it. Today we're going to be shooting side by side the 365, the 365 XL frame, and then the macro frame. In addition to that, we have XL slides, we have a Parker Mountain machine slide on a 365 slide, and a regular short 365 slide. So let's take a look and see how the recoil actually looks from the side. We're going to have all this footage stacked up, and then we'll go into a further review of it. All right, here we go. As you guys can see on the market, it's one of the hot trending guns. Everyone started with their 365 that were the Sig diehards that were looking for a new carry gun. As time has gone on, we've gone from a 365 to an XL to an X to the SAS, and now we're down to the macro. The macro is a little bit larger in size. Overall, I think it's probably the happy medium for finding a new carry gun that's not too small, but it's not too big. So most guys have started with a regular 365 at some point, but a lot of guys we're seeing are phasing those out for the X's, the Spectre comps, whatever other variation there might be. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna test fire a couple different variations of this just to show the size, the recoil control, and some general stats on the guns themselves. So here in front of me, we have a XL with the Wilson grip frame module. Up top is an XL slide, a couple little accoutrements or modifications done on this one, but essentially this is a 365 XL. So a lot of guys like these, flush 12 round, it fits in the hand real nice, nice sight radius, everything like that. Then you step away from something like this, and you can step into something like this. So this is the XL slide on a macro frame. So instead of using a true P320 XMacro, we have a macro frame here with an XL slide. So because of that, we're not getting the shorter barrel from the 365 with the ports that are built into the slide. Rather, we're getting a full-length slide, full-length barrel from the XL on this frame. So this is functional. This is a great combination. This shows you one way to do it. Now, the other option is, instead of going with the regular 365 macro, XMacro, is to go with your standard 365 slide, run your 365 barrel that's threaded with a compensator of some sort. This setup right here is the barrel and the comp from Parker Mountain machine. This setup alone, I believe, is about $360. During the holiday, they were running blem sales for about $280. So if you look for a blem sale, you might be able to save a couple dollars there. In general, though, some of the stats that we're looking at here is your base P365 is going to cost around $499. Okay, on average, you can see them all the way up to $599, but I think the market has pushed those prices down because everyone's starting to buy the other variations. Other variations like the P365X and the XL, the X is where you have an XL frame, but you have a slide length of a regular 365 on it. They are optic cut versus the standard 365, which was not, but your XL and your X are coming around the same price points of $624 to about $699. When you step into a true P365 XMacro off the shelf, you're going to see those on the market for anywhere from $799 and up. It just depends on the demand, and right now demand is very high and supply, I think, is very low. When you talk about just buying extra parts and extra pieces to be able to build your way to one of these guns, if you look at a P365 XL frame, you're going to spend about, $89, or sorry, $59. When you step into the Wilson frames, you're going to spend a little bit more than that, so maybe up to $70. When you step into the new macro frames, which Sig apparently says is shipping, you're going to spend about $89. The biggest issue across the board, though, is if you're stepping around into all these different sizes to experiment, is that you're going to have to find your magazines and pay for them. The magazines are interchangeable now more so than they were before, because as you buy the new magazines for, say, an XL, right, a 12-round XL mag, it's going to have the extra base plate so that it can go in a regular 365. You buy the 15-round, it'll have the extra base plates to go in those as well. Same thing when you look at these guys that now have a 17-round mag, they ship with the extra base plates to step with them down into the XL and the regular 365 frame. So that's nice, you're seeing those available, there's no changes. It's not like we had with the P320s where we had the difference of the magazine from a standard 320 to an X, an X compact or whatever it might be. You're not seeing those differences in the base plates, realistically. Price point wise, though, across the board, if you were to take a standard P365 and try to modify it to become a macro frame with a comp or any of that kind of thing, we're going to have some numbers up here on the screen for you. But essentially, a P365 that you add a macro frame and the Parker Mountain machine comp is going to run you anywhere from $948 to $1048. If you're doing it starting with a P365X, you're looking at about $1073 to $1148. That same price would apply to the P365 XL. And then if you're taking a P365 XMacro and you're just adding the Parker Mountain Machine Comp, you'd obviously have to find another slide, which is going to run you around $300, something like that. But that comp and the gun itself is going to come out to around $1159, and then add your slide in there, so maybe around $1,500 in total. On the market, you can find an XL slide completed. That means it has internal components such as your extractor, your firing pin, those kinds of things, but it doesn't include a barrel or a recoil rod spring. Those guys are about $300, and then you add in your barrel from your choice, whether it's True Precision or a BBL or whoever is making a barrel these days that you choose to go with. So all in all, you're looking at probably around $500 for an XL slide assembly to do something like this, where you could start with whether it's an XL gun you already had, it's an FCU, it's a 365, whatever. You're gonna spend about $500 just to do your top assembly, and then about 80, 90 bucks just to do the bottom. So pricing can be all over the place. It kind of depends on really what you're looking to get out of it. If you wanted to do this specifically, right, a macro with an XL slide, you're going to spend around $1319. That's not including the FCU, but that's essentially saying that you started with some sort of base gun like the macro and then just added a slide. If you do a XL frame though, and you add the macro frame, so if we were to do the reverse, we started with the XL versus starting with the macro, you're gonna spend anywhere from $720 to $800 almost. So there are a couple ways that you can kind of cut the pie to your liking. It's all preference. When we talk about spec-wise though, P365s come in at 17.8 ounces. The macros are coming all the way up to 21.5 ounces. Height, length, all that kind of stuff. When we're looking at the length, on the standard P365, your overall length is 5.8 inches, while on the XMacros, you're looking at 6.6. Granted, with the standard XMacro, that barrel is about a 3.1 inside of that slide. So just bear that in mind. Width-wise, they're all about the same, 1.1 inch, maybe even sub 1.1 inch. I think it's 1.06 for the regular 365, but on average, they're right around 1.1 for width. The height is the biggest thing. When you take your standard P365, you're looking at about 4.5 inches for height. So it's very concealable, very good option. As you step into something taller, like the XMacro, you're going all the way up to about 5.2 inches, I believe. So it does add a little bit more size. And the biggest thing is when we're talking about carrying a firearm, whether it's for summer carry, winter carry, we're wearing a t-shirt, we're wearing gym shorts, we're wearing a jacket, jeans, whatever it might be, is we have to think about how we can conceal these. Normally the biggest issue that people are overlooking is that it's not necessarily the length of the slide, but it's the height overall. The taller that your frame and your slide are going to be together, the more it's going to protrude out. And so that's where when you're looking at your holsters, having things such as a wing or that has a wedge on the back, stuff like that will make the biggest difference for helping you conceal a larger firearm as you go further along. But our big thing here was we wanted to look at the difference in terms of, one, the recoil control, as well as the comfort of the gun. And so if you can look at this footage here, you'll see that certain slides and certain frame combinations had less muzzle rise than that of the other ones. So as you guys can see from the footage, all the different frames have a much different feel, and you can really see how the muzzle rise is very snappy, obviously on a smaller frame. Because at the end of the day, the caliber of the round, the 9mm, is the same across all of these frames, whether it's small or large. The macro is the most effective in terms of being able to get your mitts on the actual gun itself, so the most amount of meat onto the frame itself. But between the XL slide and the Parker Mountain machine, I personally felt that the Parker Mountain machine did reduce the amount of felt recoil. It reduced the amount of muzzle rise as well, where that second follow-up shot, the gun was settling much faster. Even if you're not seeing your sights on your follow-up shot or something like that, the gun is coming much more flat, much more level quicker, which is allowing you to stay linear with your target. So I like this one a lot. I would highly recommend it, but as you guys can see, there's 1,000 different combinations that you guys can do. These are really, really cool in terms of Sig did it right. They found the right frame for most users, I think, right here. Overall, it's nice though, because again, you can buy your FCUs, you can buy your base gun, you can get yourself started with that, and if you want to modify things and have it slightly larger, slightly smaller, you want to modify it for the winter, for the summer, whatever it might be, your trigger press will stay the same, your fundamentals of function will stay the same. It's not relearning a whole new gun to carry. Hope you guys enjoyed this short video taking a look at the P365 XMacro and a couple of different modifications of it. As always guys, like, share, subscribe. I'm Ryan with Mantis Defense. Stay safe, shoot straight.